Chapter 7. If Brooklyn had been a melting pot, Lagos was a full-on spice market. Every relative had something to say loudly, with hands that moved as fast as their words. Aunties pitched Tèmi's cheeks, laughing. Americana, see as you find. Uncles clapped Josh's shoulders like they were tenderizing meat, asking when it starts praying in Yoruba. Little cousins darted in and out of the courtyard, poking at her sneakers like they were artifacts from a museum, whispering in a mix of Yoruba and English she could only half catch. The air smelled of food almost all the time, spicy, flavorful, and over it all, Grandma Foluke's voice rose above the din, oraling everyone like the general of a joyful army, a matriarch in real flesh. One of the evenings, at the crowded dinner table, with bowls of steaming meals dipped into plates, the conversation swirled around Tèmi like a current. Rapid Yoruba, punctuated by bursts of laughter. She caught her name, then another word she almost recognized, but it slipped away. They were smiling. It meant no harm, but it stung. To be honest, I've got my own opinion about what happens next, but I want to hear yours first. Put in the comments and like this video if you are ready for more twists. I'm right here, she said finally, her voice sharper than she intended. The table quieted. Grandma Foluke's eyes found hers, steady and warm. You hear our words, she said slowly, but not our weight. Language is not just sound, it is soul. You must listen deeper. Tèmi looked down at her plate, the heat in her cheeks, not from the pepper. Later that night, Tèmi sat with her cousin, Tola, a sharp-eyed 16-year-old with an uncharacteristic confidence and a mischievous grin. They bonded over music and sarcasm. So, in America, you don't fetch water? No, Tèmi laughed. They complain if the Wi-Fi is slow. Tola grinned. You are soft like fresh gigi bread. We will toughen you up small. Chapter 8. 2 weeks into the trip, a surprise downpour caught them in Yaba Market. The sky cracked open without warning, turning Yaba Market into a river of noise and movement. Traders yanked tarps over their stores, water spilling from sagging edges onto umbrellas and shades covering the stacks of thrifted clothes, bags, and food items typical of the market. The air was thick with the smell of dust and exhaust fumes. Tèmi, clutching a plastic shopping bag, dodged a woman balancing a sack of peppers on her head, only for her sneaker to skid on a patch of muddy water. Her arms pinwheeled as a vendor shouted, "Fine girl, be careful oh!" Around her, people darted for cover beneath makeshift awning, voice rising in Yoruba, pidgin and hurried English. The rain pounding harder like it wanted to drown the city. Street vendors scrambled to cover their goods. Tèmi slipped in muddy water, her jeans soaked. She started to cry. Heart hunger, heart shame, heart exhaustion. And then a hand reached down. It was Grandma, holding a plastic bag over her head, shoes soaked, eyes full of calm. Don't cry, my daughter. Rain falls for everyone, even queens. That night, Grandma made yam porridge and told Tèmi about her youth, about raising 5 sons, 3 jobs, and a love letter she once wrote but never sent. Tèmi listened with awe, finally understanding the ocean between stories and history. When Tèmi went to bed that night, she scrawled something on her phone notes. She carries storms like jewelry. I want to be like her. Chapter 9. At a family gathering, a naming ceremony for a distant cousin, Tèmi and Joshua were asked to share a family story. The panic. What story? Grandma stepped in. Tell them about the winter you made fufu and wore gloves. The room erupted in laughter. Now, this is the moment everything changes. But is it for better or worse? Comment your guess and give this video a like if you want to see the truth unfold. It was nearing the end of the ceremony. Food was ready to be served in the typical Yoruba party fashion. Papa Craig stood in the far corner, his voice carrying easily over the chatter. In Nigeria, he began, his eyes moving between Tèmi and Joshua. A name is not just what you answer to. It's what answers in you. A few people hushed. Others turned to listen. He adjusted his glasses, the overhead fan tearing the edges of his abada. Temilade and Joshua, your names are deliberate. You were named for joy and loss, for strength after storms, even if life bends you. He paused, letting the silence swell. Never let her break you. Tèmi's pulse quickened. She could feel Grandma Foluke's gaze on her, steady and sure, like an anchor in a storm. She rose from her chair, smoothed her Ankara dress, and cleared her throat. The room shifted, guests leaned in, children still, the hair seemed to tighten. Tèmi began reciting the poem she had once read at the Brooklyn Public Library, her voice trebling at first, then growing, finding its rhythm. Halfway through, she stopped. She closed her eyes and in deliberate Yoruba began to add the verses she had practiced with Tola. The unfamiliar syllables felt strange in the mouth, then powerful. In the back, aunties exchanged quick glances, and Uncle's chin lifted in surprise. By the time she reached the final line, the quiet in the room was thick. Then applause rolled in. Some guests even stood, clapping with both hands raised. Others wiped their eyes. See? Grandma Foluke said softly, almost to herself. She has remembered. Pause for a moment. What's running through your mind right now? Tell me in the comments. And if this story has your attention, let's lock it in with a like. Chapter 10. It was the night before their departure. The air was thick with the scent of ripe mangoes and the distant hum of the city. Under the old mango tree, its wide branches sheltering them like an embrace, families sat together in the courtyard. Fireflies blinked in the warm darkness, winking like tiny stars scattered just for them. Grandma Foluke sat close to Tèmi, her knees tucked under her wrapper, her eyes holding the weight of both farewell and blessing. She reached into a woven basket beside her and pulled out a small, well-worn box. Tèmi opened it slowly. Inside lay a wrapper, floral, the colors faded but still singing softly of another time. The fabric was impossibly soft, carrying the faint smell of Grandma Foluke, as though it remembered every place it had been. This was mine, Grandma Foluke said, her voice as steady as the ground beneath them. When I first came to Lagos from the village, I wore it on my first day at the market, my first job, and the day I met your grandfather. It will look old in New York. That is good. Let it remind you, you carry more than passport and phone. Tèmi's throat tightened. She wrapped her arms around Grandma, holding on like she could keep the moment from slipping away. I don't want to leave, she whispered to her shoulder. Grandma smiled against her cheek. You are not leaving, you are carrying. And back in Brooklyn, the chill felt sharper after the heat of Lagos. By the time Tèmi climbed the school steps, the city's approaching autumn sky hung low and grey. But something inside her still carried mango sunsets and the hum of Lagos market. Her accent was the same, flat, New York, fast. But her stories had changed. Now her essays began with proverbs like, okay, I will pause for a second because I want to hear your take. What would you say to the main character right now? And don't forget to like if you want more stories like this. A tree does not make a forest. Her English teacher raised an eyebrow the first time, then smiled. One day, the lunchroom buzzed with the usual chaos, plastic trays clattering, sneakers squeaking on the linoleum, the low hum of 100 overlapping conversations. The meal wove through the tables with her lunch, the fluorescent lights above catching the bright and Ankara scrunchie, pulling back her braids. Mama Craig had sewn it from a leftover fabric after making a blouse. It looked almost like it didn't belong in a school cafeteria, and that was exactly what it meant. Into our usual seat with Kiara, who immediately leaned forward, eyes narrowing on the scrunchie. Cute, Tiara said, reaching out as if to touch it. Tèmi smirked, leaning back just slightly. It's not just cute, she said, her voice low but proud. It's history. For a moment, over the smell of reheated pizza, burgers and fries, she thought of Lagos, market stalls stacked high with clothes, her mother's careful hands cutting fabric, Grandma Foluke's mango tree swaying in the dust. Another time, between the rush of classes, Tèmi found herself leaning against blockers with a small crowd of friends gathered around her. Káàbọ̀, she said slowly, exaggerating the syllables. It means welcome. Her friends repeated it, voices stumbling over the rise and fall of the tones, laughing at their own attempts. Káàbọ̀, one tried. Tèmi smiled, shaking her head. Close, but try it again. Listen first. When they got it right, she grinned. Good. Now, oh yeah, now. She explained how it could mean let's go or come on, depending on your tone. They tried it out on each other, mixing it into theirs. Oh yeah, now, race you to the vending machine, Kihara yelled, already running. The hallway echoed with laughter, sneakers squeaking. Tèmi felt a warmth in her heart, like part of Lagos had followed her here, settling between the locals and the noise. When a substitute teacher mispronounced her name, Tèmi didn't shrink into her seat like before. She corrected them, clearly, twice. Epilogue. Sometimes the ending isn't the real lesson. What do you think the story was really about? Share in the comments, and if you loved it, give it a like so others can find it too. Mama Craig smiled now, watching the recording of her daughter teaching a dance at the community center. Papa Craig now plays Fela on the weekends again. Afrobeats filling the home. Joshua starts a Yoruba Word of the Day YouTube channel. This day, the living room was unusually quiet. No record player, no TV blaring cartoons. Just the sound of Joshua clearing his throat dramatically into Mama Craig's phone. Ekaro, he said, is grin wide and mischievous. That means good morning. Today's Yoruba word of the day is suru, patience. He didn't close that to the camera. If you no get suru, you can't eat my bones pop when it's still hot. From behind the camera, Tèmi groaned, "You're gonna get cancelled even before you get famous, huh?" But Joshua was in his element. He repeated the word slowly, breaking it into syllables, then used it in a sentence while pointing to Mama Craig in the corner. "See? My mom has to doing laundry for the family every weekend." Mama Craig folded laundry nearby was shaking with laughter. "You better teach them well, oh, Professor Joshua." And Grandma's wrapper rests above Tèmi's head. The faded floral wrapper hung tightly, its edges pinned just enough to keep its gentle folds. The evening light in Tèmi's bedroom, always soft, filtered through the sheer curtains Mama Craig had insisted made the place feel like home. Beside the wrapper, in perfect contrast, was a framed photo of the New York skyline, steel glass and sharp edges, glowing against the sunset. Together, they were like two halves of her own story, one rooted in the quiet strength of mango trees and village culture, the other in the restless hum of subways and city lights. Some nights, when the world felt too loud, she would look at them both before sleeping. A reminder that she didn't have to choose between them, she could carry them side by side. Concrete and memory, Lagos and Brooklyn, Bagels and BòÒLì, two words, one echo. Because your roots will always find you. The end. I'm curious to read your take in the comments, and if you felt something watching this, tap like before you go. Tap it now.